I would imagine a lot of preparation goes into this when you are heading into trial, kind of narrowing this down and figuring out what you're looking for, kind of profile wise, and what you may not be looking for. I would imagine that's a lot of work on the attorney's end heading into trial.
It is, and it's a science. I mean, there's attorneys who specialize just in jury selection. A lot of times when you have a team, a lot of times and we saw it in some other high profile cases, they'll bring somebody in or they'll have somebody in who would just sit there, is going to read the emotions. It's a whole, it's a science, it's a scientific. You're going to read how people react, and a lot of times we don't get to see on TV what, we get to see in the courtroom, but how the jurors reacting when they tell them you got to be here for 3 weeks. Do you have daycare? Do you have to go to work? Can you afford to miss work? I mean, they're getting paid minimal, very little to miss work. Are they allowed to? Like, can they lose their job? So the reaction that you get in the courtrooms, a lot of times gets faded in the media. So we want to there. It's a science to that. You want somebody who's going to want to be there, somebody who's going to want to participate, and somebody who's going to get in your client's shoes and understand.
Is it going to be possible for a case like this that has gotten so much attention? Is it going to be possible to get jurors who haven't had exposure to this case, or is it just a matter of kind of making sure that they don't know too much and that whatever they do know, they can still put that aside and listen to the evidence?
That's the key. The reality is that we're all human beings. We're all affected by what we hear. So the question is, not only, and the judge, and you notice how the judge will ask general questions kind of to expedite the process, because typically the defense gets to ask questions on the prosecution, but the judge comes in and says, hey, listen, we're going to save time. Has anybody seen any kind of publicity or media in regard to this case? The reality is that most of them have. What's really important is, haven't you seen that? Can you set all that aside, and can you still be partial? Can you still be fair and impartial? That's the real question, and again, and you'll have sometimes we can see sometimes people are actually lying. They'll say, so there are those that do want to be students, for example, they're in college, or they want to be in the jury, they want to participate, if they have any kind of criminal justice background, they want to go through this experience. So you'll see sometimes people, oh yes, that's not going to affect me at all. But the reality is that we always know it's going to affect them. The question is, how much is it going to affect them?
Last thing I'll ask you here, we know 100 potential jurors called in yesterday, starting with another pool of 50 this morning. Is that quite a bit more than normal for a case?
It is. Typically, we bring in 30 and 40, and we can sort through and pick out. But in this particular case, being that you got a lot of factors, number one is 3 weeks. I mean, how many people can afford to go without working for 3 weeks? Daycare, there are people taking care of their families. We've run into all people who have planned vacations. We're coming up in the holidays right now, right? So, people who have plans. So there's a lot of factor. Availability, it's very, very crucial. And trust me, a lot of people do not want to sit in a courtroom for 3 weeks. So, you've got to go through a much greater pool to be able to find those who are going to be suitable.